My documentary was over Athlete A. It's a documentary that exposes the widespread abuse within USA Gymnastics, focusing on the courageous survivors that came forward to share their stories. Through the powerful testimonies and investigative journalism shown in the documentary, the film sheds light on the failures of the institutions and the resilience of the ones that were affected. The exposure of abuse within USA Gymnastics shown in Athlete A reveals instances of mishandling, complaints, and the central role that was played by Larry Nassar in perpetrating this abuse.
She was not going to do anything but go do that vault.
So Athlete A underscores a lot of the alarming mishandling of complaints involving Larry Nassar, who was the former USA Gymnastics team doctor. There was numerous warning signs and reports of inappropriate behavior, including a specific complaint about Nassar made by Maggie, who's a gymnast. Her coach, Sarah Jancy. USA Gymnastics failed to take decisive action to address these allegations, and instead they made their athletes sign non-disclosure agreements. The documentary exposes how deeply the culture of abuse was and still continues to be to this day. The documentary highlights a lot of the power dynamics at play within USA Gymnastics, where coaches and officials wielded so much influence and power over these young athletes. The fear of retaliation and the normalization of abuse behavior created such a toxic environment where athletes felt powerless to speak out against their abusers. From the top leadership down to the coaching staff, there was a pervasive disregard for the well-being of the athletes and a prioritization of success and reputation above their mental health and well-being. Athlete A appeals to a very broad audience, including athletes, parents, and sports organizations, and the general public through its focus on survivor stories and investigative journalism. By incorporating these elements, the film really aims to resonate with viewers emotionally and intellectually, which compels them to confront the realities of their abuse within the gymnastics community. So first off, the inclusion of these survivor stories in the documentary provides a deeply emotional and humanizing portrayal of these individuals affected by Larry's abuse. Through the firsthand accounts and personal testimonies, viewers are given a lot of insight into the experiences of these survivors through their struggles and their resilience in the face of all this. The documentary also utilizes a lot of investigative journalism to provide a comprehensive and factual examination of the failures within USA Gymnastics. Through a lot of their research and reporting, the journalists uncover the extent of the abuse and the mishandling of the complaints by the sports organizations and the complications of institutional leaders like the president of USA Gymnastics. The choice to target athletes and parents is informed by the documentary's focus on survivor stories, which resonates deeply with individuals who may have personal connections to the gymnastics community. And by targeting the sports organizations, including USA Gymnastics and the United States Olympic Committee, the filmmakers aim to hold these institutions accountable for their failures to protect athletes from harm. The documentary exposes these failures and within these organizations, demonstrating the urgent need for the institutional reform and accountability. For example, the mishandling of all these complaints by USAG, as revealed in the documentary, highlights the organizations and how they prioritize reputation over the safety and well-being of their athletes. And lastly, by targeting the general public, the filmmakers can raise awareness about the societal implications of abuse in sports and the importance of listening to survivors. The tone of Athlete A is pretty dark and investigative because it serves to underscore the themes of resilience, justice, and the pursuit of truth. This tone is evident throughout the documentary, particularly in the survivor testimonies and journalistic investigations that reveal the emotional journey of the victims and the search for accountability. Athlete A has various rhetorical devices to persuade the audience and expose the logical fallacies within USAG. And evidence of these devices can be observed all throughout the film, including the survivor testimonies, the investigative journalism, and the appeals to ethics. One of the primary rhetorical devices utilized in the documentary is the use of the survivor testimonies, which appeal to the audience's emotions, which is pathos, through the first-hand account of this abuse and trauma. The documentary also relies on investigative journalism as a rhetorical device to appeal to the audience's sense of reason and logic, which is logos. The journalistic investigations conducted by the reporters provide factual evidence and analysis of the failures within USAG, exposing these institutions. The framing techniques throughout this documentary play a crucial role in shaping the audience's perspective and emotional response. For example, the close-up shots of survivors' faces during interviews convey their raw emotions and vulnerability, allowing the viewers to connect more intimately with their experiences. And the incorporation of the archival footage serves as a powerful visual backdrop, offering historical context and illustrating the evolution of gymnastics landscape over time. By doing this past and present footage, the documentary highlights the persistence of abuse and the failures within USAG. The logical fallacies were evident and shown in the coaching method of the Carollis. In the case of the Carollis, their coaching approach presented a false dilemma between achieving athletic excellence and enduring abuse. They believed that physically and mentally abusing the athletes was necessary to push them to their peak performance levels. However, this approach is flawed because it falsely assumes that abuse is a necessary or acceptable means to achieve success in gymnastics, and the coaches neglect to acknowledge other potential methods for fostering athletic development that don't involve abuse. Additionally, their focus on pushing athletes to their physical limits may have resulted in a complete disregard for other forms of abuse, such as sexual assault. And as these athletes and coaches became used to the mistreatment, the false dilemma presented by the Carollis overlooks the importance of creating a safe and supportive environment for the athletes to thrive. It fails to recognize that athletic success can be achieved through positive coaching techniques. The documentary really highlights the long-standing tradition within gymnastics of prioritizing this performance outcome over athlete welfare, and this fallacy suggests that the continuation of abusive coaching practices is justified because they've been accepted and normalized within the sport for decades.